Thank you for attending and thanks for hanging on during those few minutes. Again, my name is Steve Hess. I am the Director of User Experience at BOM, and I'd like to thank you all for joining our webinar today. This is the third in a series, and I do promise to get better as time goes on. So today's topic is BOM versus product structure. And this is a continuing in our series discussion of bills of material. So what this webinar is and isn't. This is a discussion about bills of materials requirements at your company. In other words, what's needed to build your product. This is not a deep dive into BOM or database theory. This is also a no marketing zone. So this is a sales-free zone, so we won't be discussing any issues of marketing or sales. Okay, let's just get maybe a few definitions out of the way here. First is from Wikipedia. I just kind of like to have everyone understand the definition of bill of material. So I'm going to read this first one here. A BOM is a list of raw materials, subassemblies, etc. that's needed to manufacture a finished product. That's a BOM. Product structure is typically referred to as a hierarchy of relationships, often represented as a tree or a graph between parts. Relationships between parts and assemblies. So what we're going to consider in this discussion, and I should have said I'm going to be very sensitive of the time. I know we lost a few minutes. We're going to time box this to 30 minutes. What we're going to discuss in this webinar is sort of a broader question about what does a consumer of your bill of materials need to build your product, and what level of completeness is required. So in this graphic here, we're starting out with something that I refer to as a parts list, and then as our BOM becomes more mature and complete, the value of that BOM, of course, will go up to our company. But we need to make sure we understand what where the needs are and what's the best fit for my company. So we're going to think about, having looking at this graphic in the next one, we're going to think about BOM sort of as a spectrum of completeness. In other words, simple to complicated. Where do I need to be on that? Where do I need to be on that spectrum for me to be successful, for this BOM to be successful and valuable in my company? And here's some of the things, some of the key points. Some of the key features we might consider on that BOM spectrum. And they start out over here on the left as parts list. These are the things that you might get right out of a CAD system with a button press. Might look something like this down here. It's a list, literally it's a list of parts and some information about them. Could be in Excel, could be coming out of CAD. As we work our way up this spectrum of completeness, we start to add things like structure and costs. Maybe we start to do some calculations, part configurations, and other configurations, manufacturing process things kind of work their way in. And then in the end, we have something that we refer to as a configurable BOM, and often you might hear that referred to as a 200% BOM. 150% BOM. In other words, it's a BOM that's more than the parts that it takes to build a particular product. We'll build that product in any variants or configurations of that product as well. So we're going to rely on the example from webinar number 2. It was the skateboard product. I've got a company called Globe Skateboards. We built, in the last webinar, we built the S100 skateboard here on the left, and we created a BOM that matched that product structure there on the right. And we called this, sort of a thoughtful design. And just to kind of take you back real quick, here's what the output from last week's webinar was a bill of material that for many companies is completely sufficient and it has part numbers. We have that second node on our spectrum. We've got some product structure baked in. We've got in the third node, we've added some costs, and we've done some other things. We're working our way sort of up that spectrum of completeness. So using that as a starting point for today, we want to look at, where can we go from here? What are the next things that that might be an example of something that you'll use, in your company. As I go through this example, as I work towards, sufficiency, I'd like you to, I'm going to use an example that I created, but I'd like you to think about, what are some of the things that are maybe lacking in your company's BOM, or what would improve its effectiveness with your consumers. Maybe it's your internal manufacturing, maybe it's an outsource. Maybe it's one of your subcons or some vendor that you send it to. So we kind of keep that in mind. I'm going to use in our example here today, my company Globe, we're going to create a variant of that skateboard, a configuration, if you will. We're going to call it the Dash TH. We're going to make the Tony Hawk version of our skateboard. It's going to be a Tony Hawk limited edition variant of the S100 skateboard that we showed earlier. The difference here being primarily that it's still a skateboard, but it's going to have a different deck and a different set of wheels. So we're going to, think about how do we go back to that item master and BOM that we created in the last webinar, and what do we do to that to kind of bring it up a notch to where we start thinking about BOM product configurations. So as a quick refresh, from at the end of last week, we talked about what is an item master. So many of us might call it a catalog, inventory. There's a number of different things we refer to this as, but it's the database of parts that you keep in your company to build your products. And with the exception of this column here, this config column, we built this last weekend, and we showed how a single database can feed information into multiple bills of material, and it provides reuse and reduces redundancy and improves consistency, all those types of things by having a single, thoughtful item master. So what I've done is I'm thinking about, now I've got this configuration. I'm going to return to my item master. I added a new property, a new idea called the configuration for each part, and I'm going to identify which of those parts belong to which configuration of our design. And then later on, as we build the two BOMs, which will be configurations of our product, we'll see those parts showing up appropriately in that BOM. We are going to live here in just a second. We're going to make these changes, and then we're going to build a single bill of material that will, by viewing it in a particular way, will show us a BOM for the S100 as well as the BOM for the Dash TH. So that's what we plan to do live. In just a moment, I'm going to jump into a live session. I'll try to keep up with questions in the chat. If you've got some as we go, please type them in. Otherwise, I'll certainly take more questions here at the end. So here's the script of the things we want to complete live, and I'd like to get this done in the next 5 minutes. So we're going to, add this configuration. We're going to view a BOM in a particular way, and then finally at the end, we're going to add some other shipping. We're going to add a box and some other things to this, and flatten it out and create a PDF that we could take to our shop floor for either the 100 or the Dash TH. So okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to move this off to another screen so I can keep an eye on it. And I'm going to return back over here. Let me increase the size here so this is perhaps a little easier for you to see. Okay, I've moved my move the presentation off of that screen, and we're now looking at OpenBOM. OpenBOM is a cloud-based bill of materials tool. and that some of you are familiar with. I see some familiar names in the attendee list as well as some new ones. So welcome to the new folks. So thinking back about that catalog that I showed in the slides, what I've done is I've gone back and opened up the skateboard part master that we built last week. It's exactly the same as we had it. And by the way, that webinar is available online if you'd like to view that one as well. And I created a property. Now in Open BOM, there's a feature where you can create your own properties and add them. And in this case, I did just that. I created a property called sbconfig, and I said that this property is a list and it has a couple of pre-populated values. So what I'm seeing now in my catalog or in my item master is an entry for sbconfig, and I've gone through and I've indicated which one of the parts. Here, I'll let the screen catch up here for a moment. I've indicated which of these parts has which configuration. So we can see that the ZD, the standard deck, belongs in the S100 configuration. Many of the parts belong to both configurations. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, where we can see that the new Tony Hawk deck, we're going to define that as being part of the dash TH. Okay, so you see that I've added the new Tony Hawk deck there at the bottom to this item master. I've got it's waiting for me to indicate which configuration it belongs to, and there I'm indicating from that property pull down list that that's a member of the dash TH. So we've added the configuration and we've defined which configurations the individual parts belong to. Okay, I'm going to move over to the bill of material. Again, this is a bill of material that we started with last week. I renamed it to the dash XX because I'm kind of going to make this bill of material now more versatile. Before it was just did the 100, but we're going to do the dash TH as well. So I'm looking at the bill of material as it was at the end of last week. So let me let this load. Here we go. Here's the 00 from last week. This is the bill of material that we built for the skateboard out last week. Now I know that I've added a couple of parts to my catalog for the purposes of the Tony Hawk variant. So let's go ahead and add those to our bill of material. And so I've used the add item command inside of OpenBOM to add the deck. That added here. That 100 TH is the deck from my catalog, and I'm going to add the 300 dash TH, which, as we said when we opened, is the Tony Hawk version has different deck and different wheels. Okay. So I've added both of these, and now we can see that this is we have I know that excuse me, I need to make a change here. The wheel is actually part of a subassembly. So I'm going to drill down into the lower level of the axle, and I want to add the wheel there. So I've opened up the axle subassembly and I'm adding the wheel here. So I've got parts at the top level, the deck, that are, right now my BOM looks like I've got 2 decks in it, and it also looks like I've got 2 different wheel types in it. Okay, so this is where I'm going to start really adding some value to this bill of material, is using a view of this BOM. Keep in mind I've got 1 BOM here, so I can use this for planning and all the other purposes quite easily. But I've created a view of this data called the S100, which shows me the BOM in the 100 configuration. So in other words, here's the old deck. There's the orange wheel. Okay, so that's interesting. But now how do I, since I've added now the Tony Hawk version of the deck, you'd like to have a view for that. So let's create, sorry, I'm looking at the screen here. Let me let it catch up here a bit. Let's create a view for our Tony Hawk variant of this bill of material. And we are going to call this the S100-TH view. And we'll save that. Okay, so now I have a view for the Tony Hawk version saved. And I'm going to edit that view. And ask OpenBOM to say, look, I just want you to show me in this view, I just want you to show me parts that are in the TH configuration. So here I'm looking for that property. I'm saying just show me those parts that are in the TH. So we've created that view. And now we'll switch to that. We'll switch to that view. So what I want to point out here is that we are seeing in the Tony Hawk view, we're seeing the Tony Hawk deck, the red deck, and we are seeing the red wheel, and the pricing and all the other information associated with those particular items that comes through from our catalog is shown for that configuration. So we easily now have a BOM that can switch between our standard version let me switch between those. And our Tony Hawk version. Okay, so we can see each version of each configuration of our BOM. So now if I've got the same subcontractor that's building both of those, I can share with them, share this BOM with them, and they can get that information right from a single BOM. Okay. So let's take a look now, if there's let's go back and just kind of revisit the idea. What if there's a change to the price in the Tony Hawk wheel? I'm going to return to the catalog or item master that feeds this bill of material. Make the change to the price, return to the BOM, and we can see here that new price is now reflected in the BOM. So I made a change in that catalog from 433 to 650. We see that for the Tony Hawk wheel, it changes to 650. Return back to our standard 100 BOM, and we see that there's going to be no changes there. So that's how we've created this BOM that is versatile, flexible, and now manages the two configurations. By using an open BOM, we've used a view of the data. Okay, so let's wrap this up by adding something. Let's kind of complete our BOM by adding some shipping material or a box that we might ship it away in, and we're going to return to our item master catalog and add a new item. Call that my ship box 1. That is going to apply to both configurations. So we're going to key in the part number, and then over here the configuration key in that value, and then we will add a price. Cost here, and those are $1. Okay. Okay, so we've set that up to apply for both configurations. Give it in our cost. So we've added a new item now to our item master. Great. Okay, and then finally, I would like to show you that we can view this as in a flattened view. I'm going to take a look at the Tony Hawk version in a flattened view. These are all the items that I need for that. I can export this to a PDF using my BOM filters. Send that to a PDF. And here's something that we can send out to the shop floor, or send it to a vendor, or anywhere else as we might use with that. So I know that we're running a little bit long. I wanted to ask if there's any questions. Okay. Okay. There's one. How would I add assembly instructions? Okay. I'm going to do this really quickly. You would return to your item master catalog. I could add an item here, for example, labor. I'd give that a price of, this is one way to do it. I could add some labor, give that a price of $20 an hour, and then I could, down here where I have a supplier link, this could be renamed to be a reference link or something. I can edit this reference and add a set of instructions here that are stored on my drive. Let's say here's some skateboard instructions and upload that. In my case, documents that are linked do need to be stored in some cloud drive. You can see we support quite a few. We support quite a few cloud drive options. And so I save that. Save that into Dropbox and update the reference, and we'll see that there'll be a link here in my bill of materials. So now as I share this, if I share this catalog or BOM with anyone, they will have a link in there that they can click on and get to those instructions. Okay. Yeah, could I have done this with 2 BOMs? Yeah, you could have, and that's something that that I want to point out. But what with 2 different BOMs, you don't necessarily get for the economy of scale of planning. These BOMs these 2 items are very close to each other in in parts usage. So, vendors, lead times, all that sort of thing, it makes sense to kind of manage them as dash numbers rather than as separate part numbers. And in my example, that's how I did it. Your planners might find it easier to buy parts, for a family of products rather than often single BOMs. So, okay, and labor, I just did a little example of how to add labor, and I can we have some examples online on how to do that as well. So okay, I do want to thank everyone for joining. I've added some additional information. There's some wonderful blogs from a variety of different places, from Autodesk and Arena and some others, about crafting a BOM, what kind of information should be in there, whether it should be multi-level and things. So we'll share this out when we share out the recording, and we certainly like taking any additional questions following at support@openbom.com. We're always open. Thanks again for joining, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.